Little technical difficulty right there at the beginning. Hey, we're live on YouTube and Facebook. Thanks so much for joining us. It is the very first day of 2025, January 1, 2025, and we are live. So make sure you're hit the like button and share your friends. Let them know we're live and we're here for you. We got Scott, Shane, and Paris. Shane, we got little name tags on the side of our. If you're watching, we got names, which is kind of cool. I don't know how that happened, but good looking. Hey, go hit up our friends survivalfrog.com and use code PrepperTalk10 to save 10% on our any gear that you get there, any preps that you get there. They have a great selection, a wide variety of different preps, different categories. One of our favorites, of course, is the meats. Guys, we're looking at also go to our website, preppertalkradio.com. If you do preppertalkradio.com/store, you'll actually get a chance to buy merch. And we have t-shirts, hats, and a couple other things. So get on there, support the show, and get some merch. And tag us. If you do buy some merch, take a picture and tag us on our Instagram at Prepper Talk Radio. So we'd love to be tagged. All right, Scott, Shane, how you guys feeling tonight?
Good. Hey, what's up with the windows there?
We are trying out, for those of you who are watching, we're trying out a few of the new things that StreamYard allows us to do with our visuals.
Well, no, it just hijacked when we hopped in. It changed everything. So I'm trying to fix it all.
All right.
Well, it looks good to me. I don't
like it.
So today we're going to talk about our 2025 outlook. What do we think is going to be coming? What are some of the things to watch out for, things to be aware of, things that we've kind of thought about? There's way too many things for us to discuss in today's show in just an hour, but hopefully we'll touch on a few, and then over the course of the next little while we'll be able to talk more about it, but on different shows in the future. But what I know, Shane, one of the things I wanted to talk about was the crypto craze and some of the crazy about these airplanes that are falling out of the skies over the last couple weeks. And then what was the other one? Oh, the bird flu craze.
Bird flu craze, the weird fog. And we've talked a little bit about drones, but also the drones and orbs lately. Mm-hmm. Or Dior bags is what their code word is everywhere online.
Correct.
But then also some fun new hot off the press Cybertruck explosions today. I don't know if you guys saw those.
Oh, yeah. And then crazy. Speaking of trucks, some dude drove a truck through a party in New Orleans last night. So there's some weird
start. Not a great start.
Welcome to 2025.
Yeah.
Starting it off with a bang.
Well, what kind of inspired me, sorry to cut you off there, Scott, for this topic is that Trump came out with his issued a warning about a new Great Depression. So that's he issued a Great Depression warning. And so that's kind of what got me thinking about this topic.
Which is very timely because, we talked about in our last episode a little bit about how he's like, we need to get rid of the debt ceiling, right? No cap on spending. Are you kidding me? Like, what is that going to do to inflation? Through the roof. It's already through the roof. Now it's going to go through the stratosphere. Like it's so stupid. It is so bad. And I still have a very positive outlook for 2025. And I think it's because I am a little joyful for the collapse.
There we go. Yep.
I'm an apocalypse optimist. I believe bad things will always happen and they will compound, but in the end, the result will be far better and we will be a far better people and a far better version of ourselves going through the hard times than we will be if we don't.
Well, that's true because, if you know anything about forest fires, they're not good as they're happening, but it's necessary to cleanse the flora and fauna and the ground cover and those types of things. It's a molting process. And economically speaking, I was, Harry Dent. Sorry. I was listening to an interview with Harry Dent the other day, and he's somebody that follows economic cycles. He's followed them for a long time. He says, look, the problem with the last several years in our economy is that we haven't had a cleansing. We haven't had any, we just keep funding the bubble, and we need a cleansing in order to be able to reset and get the strong companies, because there's a lot of companies out there right now that are surviving from borrowed money, from really borrowed time and effort. They're really not that good. Their product or services are really not doing that well. And we need to cleanse those. We need to bankrupt, like not necessarily bankrupt them, but we need to get rid of those, get them out of the market so that the strong companies can rise to the top and carry us into the future.
They need to eliminate bailouts.
Yeah.
They need to just eliminate
Yeah,
bailouts.
that's a big part of it.
Everybody relies on bailouts because they know the government will fund it. And that means they don't have to be as good at their job as they should be, right? To be profitable.
Mm-hmm.
That's how the banks are. That's the entire system. You know, the chief of the director of the ATF just resigned, right? That's another fun one. Why did he resign? Because he's a lying sack of garbage, and his unconstitutional organization has been caught red-handed in doing all this nefarious, illegal stuff for years and years and years. And he's like, oh crap, I better get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We're going to see more and more of that in 2025.
Yeah. Well, if you think about going back to kind of Great Depression warning, if you look back at 1929, 30, 32, so on and so forth, they didn't have, or they lived a completely different way. They didn't have credit like we have now. Companies didn't live, like you say, zombie companies, Paris, you mentioned, companies that are only living off what they raise from the sale of their stock, right? They're not even paying their interest payments on their loans. Zombie companies, and that's increased dramatically over the past couple of months, past half year. But
I think
most people didn't have credit cards, right, to live off of. They didn't have auto loans. Companies didn't operate off debt like they do now. So we're probably already worse off now than especially if we didn't have all the credit we have now.
Well, I don't know if you guys remember about back in the day with the PPP loans and all those things. Those are all starting to come due now. Like, they're big. There's some pretty significant payments. If you at some point you can extend it, you could extend it. But I think the timeline for all that is gone. And now all those loans are now ready to become due. Yep. And that's not a good place for our economy.
And the false promise that many of them were going to be converted to a grant.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. So many people are like, oh, it's going to become a grant and then it'll be it's forgivable, right? Why would you believe an organization that is built on lies when they tell you, oh, take this money, we might make it forgivable, wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Mm-hmm.
Take this money and here's the interest rate. You don't have to pay anything for 5 years, 7 years, whatever it was. I can't remember. But of course, we're running into that. The Great Depression. How did we get out of the Great Depression? What got us out of the Great Depression?
War.
More spending. Well, yeah,
war spending, exactly. But war.
Mm-hmm. War spending.
War is what got us out of the Great Depression.
Increasing the national debt.
That is the stimulation for the economy that got us out.
That's
what are we watching?
To get rid of the debt ceiling.
Right. What are we watching in the world right now? Wars and rumors of wars. Conflicts all over the world. Conflicts in the United States. One of the Cybertruck explosions this morning in New Orleans is attributed to a terrorist attack, an Islamic group, if I remember the article correctly. But we're just going to see more of that. However, it's not the end of the world. It's going to get tougher. And are we about to hit a depression? Yeah. So how are you doing on that garden? How are you doing on that food storage?
Mm-hmm.
Check out our friends, survivalfrog.com, go get some meat, and if you can't do that, go get some pets because it's working well up in north, right? Eating your neighbor's cats.
Be better off.
You got to do something. Like I say that in jest, but you got to do something. Get some rabbits, get some chickens. I'm all about quail. I'm all about ducks because ducks, there's certain breeds of ducks that you can get as many eggs, if not more eggs per year than you can out of most chickens.
Nice.
And they're actually better foragers, so you don't have to feed them as much. They'll take care of themselves.
Aren't they a little bigger egg too?
A little bigger egg. And duck à l'orange sounds delicious. And if you have ducks, you can make duck à l'orange. Can't do it without a duck.
It just sounds fancy when you say it like that.
It does. Duck à l'orange. Welcome to the apocalypse. We're serving duck à l'orange today. Sweet. What else can we get? That's it. Tank with water and some black beans. Enjoy.
Hey, we got rabbits here where we can process. Pick a rabbit. Go
Heck
over there
yeah,
and
like,
process it.
stock up on your dried seasonings. Like, don't go buy them at your regular stores. I'm telling you, man, you got to go to the Asian markets and the Hispanic markets to get the best deals on your spices. It is hands down the best way to buy.
Yeah, Paris, you're talking about kind of crypto.
Yeah, crypto. Let's go back.
Yeah, let's go back there. But
Well, just real quick, I think Jim's got it right here.
Yeah.
We've been World War III has been cold, so to speak, warm-ish, whatever, for several years. I agree with
100%.
that. It's not as kinetic as it's gonna be, but it's headed that way. So, anyways, yeah.
It's funny because I had a cousin tell me, he's like, so, like, are you buying any crypto? This is like at a Christmas party. He's like, you buying any crypto? Like, what are you into? And I'm like, is it tangible? And he's like, well, not really, but it's secured because it's blockchain. I'm like, so can I trade it in? Can I trade in something I don't have in my hand for something somebody else has in their hand if they don't see a value in what doesn't exist in my hand? And he's like, well, no, that'll never work. I'm like, but yet we do that with credit cards and digital dollar, and now you want me to do that with some crypto that I have zero control over? And if the system goes down, you can't access? Like, what's the point of that? And he's like, yeah, I'm getting out of crypto. It's like,
yeah. Crypto makes, anyways.
It's so crazy.
If you have cash to burn, which,
sure,
there's a long way to go, in my opinion, before somebody technically has cash to burn. But if you got cash to burn, then shoot, yeah, go speculate with the crypto market. I mean, it's already down 5%. It hit 100 and 110 or something like that, 101, 100 and something like that. Now it's 95. I was on a conference call the other day with one of the guy. He's not a hedge fund manager, but he runs an RIA, which is a registered investment advisory. He has hundreds of millions of dollars under management for multimillionaires. And he was like, if anybody, he says, I don't recommend crypto because it's not tangible. There's nothing backing it. It's completely just free for all at the end of the day. And there's some of the other things that we think about. And he's like, if somebody wants to have it, if they absolutely want to have it, I'll say, don't do more than 5% of your assets in crypto, because there's 1 million plus coins right now on the market. I don't know if you saw this Huck Tua lady. She was like, let's create a meme coin. And she, I don't know who made millions, or nobody did, because everybody lost all their money. And there's big, I don't know. I didn't even get into it because it was just nonsense to me.
It's a pump and dump. She's going to go to jail.
There's a whole bunch of different meme coins right now. We got Hefe and Pepe Le Pew, and there's some other ones that are not as, named as appropriately as I want to think. I think there's so it's just like what people are doing. It's like an NFT, dude. Like, what was that?
They kind of came and went real quick, didn't they?
Yeah, you could buy an NFT picture for 30 grand, and then the next day it was worth 300 or something like that. Like, you just lost a ton of money. That's just makes no sense to me to be in that kind of stuff. I mean, if you got money to blow again, and it's speculative, and you have everything else in place, your foundation's in place, your preps are in place, your emergency fund, you're on track towards your financial independence number. Like, if you got your debt, you're out of debt completely, then I think you're probably in a position to think about crypto.
Go do some
not before that.
Yeah. I wanted to go back to Jim's comment here real quick. That that our countries have been fighting World War III, and I absolutely think that's true. We're not being told everything that's going on, but I think more importantly, as a warning for looking forward to 2025, looking forward, whatever attitude you want to look forward to is that not only are countries and governments in war, and have been for a long time, because financial war is war, tariffs are war, but also just the war that is being had with the people, right? That to me is extremely obvious.
He made a second comment here, and it goes right along with what you just said.
Yeah, they're posturing, but I mean, they're at war with us, the population, with the citizens. Call us citizens. I don't like that word, but they're at war with us, governments and world leaders, and not just our U.S. government. The so-called wannabe world leaders, right? These who self-appointed leaders are at war with us. If we really look at it, that's exactly what it is. So I see more and more of that happening moving forward this year, and that they are at war with us. And so that's the way I take it. That's the way I'm going to react. and how I'm going to posture myself throughout 2025 is that they are making war on us because we are the ones who have the power. I'll shut up there.
Well, it's interesting. It's like, I was going to share Jim's comment also, but like the world governments are already posturing, right? What happened in November in Sweden? Did you guys see this? Sweden did a national announcement and sent pamphlets out to every household on what they need to do to be better prepared for specifically what's coming down the pipeline. Wars, increased food shortages, fertilizer shortages, what to do in case of home fire, like any type of thing that could happen to your house. Like they've been going to town, really expanding, like, hey, everybody get aware. What's the rest of the world doing? They're all pulling the Wizard of Oz. Nothing to see behind the curtain, right? That's where we are at this point. Like it is, it is going to get worse and better, right? There has to be good and bad going on at the same time. There's the push from both sides at all times. But I believe we need to do a much better job than we've been doing. Individually, your only way through what's coming is what you get to do for yourself now before it's too late.
Well, I find it interesting. You know that old saying, whoever has the gold makes the rules. And there's a lot of kind of underlying little like hint, wink, wink on, I follow the trends on X as much as I can to kind of see what's going on macro level. And there's a lot of, like, I think Elon Musk put out there, says it was really strange to meet a trillionaire. You know, what happens when a billionaire meets a trillionaire? And he's shaking hands with the Saudis. And they're talking about how the BRICS nations are coming up with their new thing. And so all this new information about how, man, most of those guys are trillionaires. They have money that you can't even think about. And I have people in our world, you know, Elon Musk, we think of him as super wealthy. Like the guy's a billionaire, right? Well, he looks at these other dudes in the Saudi. He's like, they're way beyond me. They're in the trillionaire status. And I'm just like, why is this hinting at that? You know, what are they getting at here? You know, sometimes they'll drop those little hints for us to be aware of. Might be nothing. It might be nothing. I hope it's nothing. But when you start seeing that kind of commentary about, hey, look at these countries out here with way more money than we have, and they're all switching from the dollar, or as the BRICS nations. Saudi Arabia joins the BRICS. If I remember correctly, they joined the BRICS not too long ago. Yeah, which means that they're one of the world's wealthiest countries, and you know, if they have money, they're gonna move it around to get what they want.
Well, they have gold and they have oil. I mean, that's really what's going to be important moving forward. And that's another thing on my warning list for this year is that deflation in commodities. You know, obviously interest rates are going up, inflation is going up, but we're going to see, and maybe not this year, maybe it's next year, I don't know, but when there are economic downturns, there tend to be deflation, which means commodities go down, and that could happen to gold and silver as well. So that's one of my warnings as well is, yes, buy what you, I'm a gold and silver guy. You guys know this. I will continue to buy. I'm not going to stop buying until I can no longer buy anymore. And so, but if you have the right mentality in understanding that, yes, gold and silver could possibly go down as an effect of deflation, because it's considered right now to be a commodity. You know, it's just mainly by the U.S. and those who set the prices, right? Because we know it's manipulated. And so, just as a warning, commodities, you know, deflate in price. Those things that we don't necessarily would need. So, like say the stock market. I mean, who knows what's happening with oil? Demand's going down, so the price is going down and going up, kind of holding right around the 70 level. But gold could go down. But the things that we need are going to go up in inflation. I mean, tires for your car. The price difference from the last time I bought tires it's like 50% more since the last time I bought tires for my car. And those things that we need are going to go up in price because of inflation. Well, but our equities and those things that a lot of people can put their wealth in are potentially going to go down with deflation.
Absolutely. Like our tires are going to go up. Our shoes.
Yeah, tires are never go down.
Our clothing. Thankfully, a lot of the fabrics that we use, prices are going to go up, but a lot of it comes from like Mexico, Honduras, and India. But all your electronics,
Mm-hmm.
those suckers are all manufactured pretty much in China, right? That's the crazy thing. Like the parts come from all over the world. They end up in China. They put it all together and they send it here.
Another warning on tariffs.
That's going to be huge when those tariffs start coming in. And the promise of Trump was that the tariffs will go up, but our taxes will get removed. I doubt that'll happen. I hope, but
they'll go down anyways. They may not be removed, but at least go down.
Right? We'll see. Eventually, time will prove that everything will go away, and it won't be the world that you all want. Right? It'll be completely different. And I feel like we are getting closer and closer to the tipping point of where we will be in a situation where you'll own nothing, you'll be renting everything, and you're supposed to love it, right? And so the more we can get out of debt, the more we can not rely on speculation, and we can rely on ourselves and our community, the better we're going to be to write that out, because that'll be a short period of time that actually takes over.
Yeah, absolutely. We're always talking about getting out of debt, like you say, Paris, the credit card debt, installment debt, those types of things.
Well, I don't know if you saw this, but Senator Hawley, did I pronounce it? Anyways, he's pretty. I love these senators who get in there and they drill these dudes. It's great entertainment. It's great to watch. But then I was reading the comments and somebody's like, look, it's great that you guys get in there and they drill these massive corporations. You drill these, these CEOs of these companies. You drill the director of the FBI. You drill the director of the CIA, whatever. But whatever happens to it, like whatever comes of it, it's like nothing really seems like. So I'm listening to this Senator Hawley who's drilling Visa and MasterCard. He's drilling them like, what do you guys have a 50% profit margin, bro? If you know anything about business, 50% profit margin is huge. Visa and MasterCard, they're like, we don't want competition. We don't need competition. What do you mean you don't need competition? You guys are running literally the world. And to me, like, okay, great. We all want Senator Hawley to get in there and rip these Visa and MasterCard and tell them to lower their fees and lower the interest rates and do all this stuff. I guarantee you, if America woke up and said no more credit card debt, they would, and they literally charged it for points and then paid it off. These companies would lower their interest rates. These companies would make the changes. They would stop charging. Like the way to do it is grassroots, in my opinion.
Vote with your money.
Vote with your money. Grassroots is the fastest, most efficient way to do it. We can ask our senators, we can ask our leaders to do the changes, but at the end of the day, it's got to be coupled with our grassroots changing. If we stop charging everything and start buying from savings or saving up first and then buying things, these credit card companies are going to get the picture real quick and they're going to make some changes real fast as soon as consumers start to wake up and do what we need to do. And that's true on all the levels of things. That like how many people are waking up. I can't, we're on YouTube right now, so we can't really say anything about a certain medicines that people were required to take through their arm and through a plastic thing. But how many people are waking up to that? We just had several people that were in we had a celebrity, Gal Gadot, whatever her name is. She had a brain clot in the 8th month of pregnancy. And I think she's like, wait a minute, that might've been because I took a certain medical procedure a while ago. You know what I mean? So there's more and more doctors coming out and saying things all across the world about, hey, wait a minute, we got duped, guys. And so it's nice to see that finally waking up. We need to keep doing it. We need to keep waking up. We need to keep making those changes on a grassroots level.
Only also, this is scary, and I don't have the data in front of me, but I was reading through, I saw a video that talked about that in the disclosures that you're going to be signing in medical procedures, there's a section that is actually about what the medical professionals can do in your benefit without your permission, and that you're giving them consent for this. It came through the World Health Organization and rolled out, and all the countries are basically mandating it. And so you have to be very cautious in what you sign and what you don't sign. Don't sign anything digitally anymore going forward for medical procedures. Require paper printed versions so that you can make edits and edit before you sign, because there are some medical whistleblowers that have been talking about this. I've been reading up on it, but I don't have it in front of me because I didn't think we'd be talking about it today. But there's a section where it allows them to give you any vaccination they feel is necessary, regardless of your exemptions.
Interesting.
So
Be careful with that for sure.
I'm going to try to avoid all interactions and medical necessities for the next decade because of something.
And to go along with that, Scott, I was a lady posted in another group that I'm in about how she was at a doctor's appointment, and this was in Texas, I think. She was at a doctor's appointment, and the doctor said, "Hey, do you mind if I put my phone right here?" And she was like, "Why would you ask that? Like why do I care?" And she come to find out, there's a new medical AI that doctors have on their phone apparently. And so as the person is describing their problems and talking about their issues, the phone is listening, and the AI is now telling the doctor what to do to how to treat that issue. And she's like, guys, watch out, because you don't want AI. I mean, that's another issue, another conversation is, do we want AI knowing all of our medical issues, right?
Are we signing up to have the Dr. Terminator?
Well, it's so funny to me. It's like, don't mistake my medical degree for your Google search. I'm like, well, don't mistake my ability to do my own research on the world's greatest resource of knowledge in the, ever in history against your, most of these, like literally my wife went to see her nurse practitioner the other day. And she's like, so what do you think I have? And the nurse practitioner was like, I don't know. Let's Google it. Like the nurse practitioner Googled it right there. It's like, oh, this is what you have. This is what you should do. All right, I'll prescribe it for you. I was like, wait,
okay,
what?
I got to stop you right there because this is awesome. Walt Longmire just joined the chat, and he says AI is probably more accurate, to be honest. Now, do you guys know who Walt Longmire is?
Nope.
He's a fictional character. There's a TV show called Longmire, and he is the coolest sheriff in the history of sheriffs. So I don't know who this is who's pretending to be Walt Longmire, but I approve 100% of the use of this name because
welcome, Walt.
All about self-reliance, being smarter than what's going on. But yeah, AI. Why get a medical degree if they're relying on AI too, right? There's so many things we can do ourselves that's going to be more accurate than what they've got.
Another warning that I'm taking seriously for this year is I'm seeing a lot still pushing, the flu vax, the H5N1, the bird flu is going around like crazy. And, I just don't believe it. It's and I think with what we experienced past several years, we should all be very skeptical about what they're saying and check and double check. And if it's real this time, okay, let's see it with our own eyes first, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
and they're saying they're going to try to push an emergency something or another for the bird
California
flu
already
before January 20th, which is we know why they want to push it before then.
Well, it's interesting. Why is the bird flu only hitting chickens and specific groups of cattle, but nothing in the wild?
Because they're using the PCR test, which is bogus.
Right. They're getting a false positive and sharing that with everybody because the PCR test is really just a way that they can magnify the results to get whatever they want it to say. And the guy that created the PCS test has come out and said that everything is a lie. The other thing is I haven't seen anything about duck or quail ever being culled. So that's another thing to look at, as well as rabbits. Right. And there's, I was watching a show about a livestock that everybody leaves alone because it's so robust. I'll have to get back to you guys on that and find out. But there's certain types of fish that are that way, but stingrays are that way. But there's another livestock that's pretty robust. I'll find out and see what I can tell you guys.
It's llamas, right? It's
alpacas.
Alpacas.
I wish. That's the dream, guys. Here's the dream. I moved to 5 acres of land. I get some milking goats, I get some alpacas, and I get some ducks. And
you learn how to shear. You get
a loom. Build my own loom. learn how to dye my alpaca fibers. Yeah, and I'll start making goat cheese products and set up a whole woodworking facility in my great giant metal barn shed thing that I build. And you guys may never see me again, unless you come to a little local market that I don't know. I'll disappear.
You can just go off grid forever.
Well, I think part of all this H5N1 and so forth, and then the drones and the aliens and all this stuff we're seeing, that we're just being fed little by little here and there to kind of condition us and make it more and more normal. And they're not raising an alarm, right? They're just saying, yeah, we recognize this, but this is all normal. And then they come out with their little disclosures. Oh, we know that aliens are real and the government has this or that. And it's just breaking us down little by little and whittling away until it becomes normalized.
Mm-hmm.
But what it is, it's really is deception is what it is. And so, as I kind of mentioned earlier, our leaders, our governments, the powers that be are at war with us. And that's one way they do it, is through deception, through these little lies, through the conditioning, through their psychological operations. I mean, there are so many examples through the years of our governments doing this to the people. And that's one of my warnings for this year as well, is just be try and be very observant and just watchful for the lies that you're being told. And I think it's important to be watching for it and not just unplug. I mean, unplugging is great. I'd love to do it, but then I can't be aware of what's happening around me. So I need to know what's going on personally. And so that's one of my warnings, is deception is going to continue, and I think increase on the people in particular.
I think they got smart too they tried one way and people were like, nope. And then they're like, okay, we got to do another way. One of the things I was listening to, I think it was the Sean Ryan show or one of those shows where the guy was like, they have a contingency for everything. Whatever we come back with to refute or to push back, they have another route they can take to get around us. And so that's kind of disheartening. But at the same time, it's like, we still got to fight. We still got to do our part to stop them from doing things. Another thing I was listening to on the Sean Ryan show was about how there's the old, I can't remember if it was ISIS or if it was the, there's a new, the child of one of the people we took out is now rising up, and he's not just working with one of those organizations over there. He's like bringing in all of them together to create one huge movement towards a caliphate. And I was just like, what? So in history, when I'd read history about wars, they would come and then have an attack, and several years there'd be wars, and then they would back off, and then they would build up their armies for 3 or 4 or 5 years, and then they would come back with another force of war. And I feel like maybe we're in that. They're building up for 3 or 4 year period right now. That's why we're like, okay, everything's good everything's great. At least mainstream media is telling us everything's great. Don't worry. We got everything under control in the Middle East, and it's really like, yeah, it's all under control, meaning we're building up for the next thing we're going to do. And that's going to be a couple of years before we have the sufficient resources to really hit it again. And so I just, it's always that, so to speak, the storm, the calm before the storm, as they say. So don't get too skeptical, but at the same time, stay ready.
No, get skeptical. Just be more and more skeptical.
Well, professional. There's a different level. I think professional skepticism is good.
Okay, professional. I like to add that word to it,
because you're aware of things. Things could go wrong, but you're not like sky is falling. Running around with your head in the sand. Just an idiot skeptic. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah,
I want educated
of,
skeptics are good, I think.
Speaking of being a professional skeptic, have you guys, we briefly touched on this at the top of the hour, but wanted to get back to it. We've talked about H5N1, which is the avian flu, but the fogs all over the world. Like there's two things that are interesting to me. One, it's all over the world. In mass population, huge dense population areas. But two, a lot of the videos that I'm seeing about these fogs is they're acting strange. It's floating particulates, almost more like some weird fluffy snow, But then I've seen some videos of people where it's like it's landed in their pool and it's not melting. And it's just this floating white powder, like weird powder all over there. And so here are the conspiracy theories. This is for education and entertainment purposes only. But a lot of people believe they've been getting sick because of this. And a lot of people are talking about that this is a bioweapon that's been launched against the world population to try to depopulate or to bring mortality rates higher so that we can governments can control the people better.
So what are you going to see next on that? I think you're going to see just like what they did with the drones, like all these people reporting drones and this is not normal. And what does the government come out and do? It says, no, this is all normal. We've checked into 5,000 different cases and 4,900 of them are just planes, and you're not seeing what you're seeing. You don't know what you're talking about. We're the authority. I think we'll see the same thing with that fog. Like, no, this is normal. This is
or some scientists will come out and say, we actually have found that this is a new version of fog. This is this is the next iteration of the fog chemical, and they'll come up with some medical, some scientific mumbo jumbo to kind of explain it away. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's great. No, you know what?
Gaslighting is exactly what it's like, and it's so obvious.
There's like 17 forms of there's like currently on the scientific scale now there's like 20 different types of clouds. No, there's one type of cloud, white and fluffy. That's it.
Water vapor. That's what it is. If it's not water vapor, 100%.
Yeah. Like to me, it's like we came up with we have a new cloud formation. Yeah, that's called.
And the increase
in the authority
trails, cloud seeding, the increase in weather manipulation by all countries. I mean, we still don't have clarity on what happened in North Carolina, the hurricane that hit there and dumped and destroyed Asheville. Like all these communities out there are destroyed, and there's still confusion and lack of clarity on what happened and why.
Well, that's part of their psychological operation, is to keep the population confused and traumatized, so that when they present their solution is that, like, yes, please save us, keep us safe, and everyone is scared, and that's it's about fear for them. And when they, like, same with the drones, and I think the same with this fog. What they'll do is they're putting out all this information that's so confusing, and you can't tell what's the truth. That's exactly what they're trying to do, is confusion, and never give you an answer, which I wouldn't trust it anyway, right?
Well, then there's also so going back to the drones too. So did you guys see? You guys saw the floating orbs, and you've seen the drones, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What do we know about the floating orbs? Where do they come from?
So there's a number of different explanations.
What are some of those explanations?
Oh, I'm not sure if I can.
Some are that they're aliens.
Exactly, some kind of alien technology. I saw some cross sections of some of these plasma orbs that are actually some alien technology that was reverse engineered, whatever.
Well, there was a laser that went into use in 2014 by the U.S. Navy of floating orb laser technology. It can be steered, it can be moved, and it can be sent to wherever it needs to be sent to.
Wow.
But nobody wants to talk about that. You guys can go do some research on that.
Well, that's just too far off. Just unbelievable.
It's too unbelievable that we have technology that we're not being told about. I 100% believe that it's technology that our governments are using against us. There's also the whole Project Bluebeam.
Mm-hmm.
When did that come to be?
Long time ago. Ball lightning. Yes, ball lightning. All these different things, like, we're being now gaslit about, that the government's been involved in for decades and decades and decades. It's more true than false, guys. It is all way more true than false. Check them out. But then also, I believe in angels and demons, and how much of what we're seeing is interactions. Could be. Could very well be. We'll also check out what's coming up for, I guess, kind of the Midwest out over to the east. This cold front that's coming in. I don't know what they're calling it, but potentially lows into the 40, 50 degrees below normal. I mean, just even more so than the disaster in Texas a couple of years ago. The outages there, much lower temps than then. So what's that all about? I mean, we've been warmer than normal here in Utah for, it was like 50 degrees on Christmas, the day after Christmas. It was not really
Yeah,
nice.
there's hardly any snow so far.
Yeah. But definitely not normal. So, I mean, that's all part of everything we're really talking about. So I think, weather manipulation, I still have a hard time believing that really can be done, but there's a lot to be said there. But again, just deception on every level, including weather.
Yeah, I think this is a good time to throw up a quick commercial for our good friends over at Patriot Packs.
Cool.
These guys are hand warmers. You just talked about being cold and the cold front. If you guys are concerned about being cold in this winter, go pick up our couple of hand warmers from our good buddies over at Patriot Packs. Use Prepper Talk, and you'll get a discount from them as well. I think the link will be in the show notes as well. So
cool.
But I just recognized, like, today was really cold where I live, but there's no snow. And I have I look back, I'm sure everybody gets these notifications that, hey, a year ago, and like my Google Photos will show me like, hey, on this day last year, you had these pictures. On this day 3 years ago, you had these pictures. And I'm looking, and I saw one of them, and there was like 3 feet of snow or something. Like not that. I mean, I'm sure that was after I shoveled. It was much higher, but it was like at least a good foot of snow on my front yard a couple years ago. And so here I am, and there's nothing. And it's like, wait a minute, what's happening right now? Are we getting ready for a huge fat dump in the next couple of weeks? Or is it gearing up to just load it up? Or is it going to be one of those dry winters again, where there's not a lot of snow?
Kind of the way it goes. Yeah. Let's see what else I'm gonna.
So going back to Shane's statement.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I gotta point out. So you talked about you're not sure you believe in weather modification.
Well,
Did I hear that right?
To an extent. I mean, I'm still weighing the evidence, but there's an awful lot.
So here's a piece of evidence for you and for the listeners. Go to state.gov, the U.S. Department of State. There is a convention on the prohibition of military or any other hostile use of environmental modification techniques. There was a treaty signed in Geneva, May 18th, 1977, that all these countries would no longer, and furthermore, would not going forward, use any weather modification techniques or geomodification techniques as weapons against any other country in the treaty.
Well, that was one of the techniques they used over Vietnam. Is cloud seeding and creating rain and so forth. So yeah, I get it. I it's a real possibility. I just honestly, I really don't care that much, I guess, to get into it that deeply. But
there's so many things there's so many conspiracy theories. And
it's hard to keep
conspiracy facts. It's hard to study them all.
Well, and that's the thing is, like, you don't need to. I've delved into this quite a bit, and there's a lot of evidence that in the 1960s they were able to do a lot of things. There's evidence. I mean, you brought up one of them. With Vietnam, like, they were doing a lot of these things. But the thing is yes, anything is possible. More importantly, they're always going to lie to you about it, but they're always going to tell you the truth somewhere else. So there are breadcrumbs and there's trails. If you get sucked in and rabbit hole it, you'll be gone for days. You'll come out knowing a lot more than you did before, but it is stranger and more. I am more shocked and appalled at the strangeness of what I'm finding and the truth therein of what our government's capable of and what the world's governments are capable of and what they've done and continue to do. I mean, we're the most gaslight people in the world. America is the most gaslit country out there. I don't think North Korea can even come close to the gaslighting. They've militarized themselves and they punish you immediately. But here, we're not getting punished. We're being told you're an idiot and what you believe is wrong. And we're gaslit like crazy. So it's a completely different comparison. But we are completely lied to all the time and then told we're crazy for believing in these conspiracy facts, especially as they're rolling out the evidence and truth of it.
Well, and to go back to what you said there, Scott, that what was it? The country. I mean, it's been multiple countries are actually warning their their citizens, their population, to get prepared. And some of these warnings are pretty weak. There's like, make sure you have 3 days worth of food. Like, okay, that's not even a warning. That's just common sense right there. But there are some countries out there, I don't have them on the tip of my tongue, but who are putting out some considerable warnings to their citizens, say, hey, get prepared, stock up on this and that, get your iodine tablets and so forth. But what are we seeing here in the US? Nothing other than Trump coming out with his warning, say, oh, hey, he issues a warning about Great Depression potentially coming this year or in the near future. That's only kind of warning I've seen of any kind. And then, I'm very skeptical about Trump and so forth. So, okay, what's the purpose? Is he trying to accomplish that? And of course, me being very pessimistic that way. But
it's one world government. He's for it.
Yeah,
there's two versions of it. There's one groups or the other groups.
Yep.
Either way, they win, right?
Yep, exactly. A couple different versions, but in the end, it's all the same.
Yeah. It's so bad.
So I guess along those same lines, we're kind of come up against our 45-minute rule, whatever, here 50 minutes. I'm seeing more and more talk in the news and so forth about shortages. That could be with the tariffs. We talked about that briefly, but obviously the H5N1, the bird flu, they're culling herds. Eggs are going to go up in price. There'll be some shortages that way. So I think I'm beginning to see that come back up. There was quite a bit of talk back in the 2020, 21, 22 about shortages. Didn't really see a whole lot come to fruition that way. Some things were obviously shortages because of the effects of the government and what they did, but more shortages potentially coming up. So that's another warning for this year is if you have the means, get what you need, get it early, as long as it has a shelf life. Better to have, a good stockpile than hope that it's there later down the road.
So I just shared the link to the
Sweden. Okay, cool.
In case of crisis or war from Sweden, the English version. And it's pretty interesting.
Pretty comprehensive on this one, or is it just kind of surface?
It talks about their total defense system, that every member of the country is responsible to help defend the country. But it goes into psychological defenses, digital security, terror attacks, how to stop bleeding, extreme weather events, pathogens, what you need for special assistance, taking care of your pets, and then a section on if you're worried. Well, how would I not be after reading all the headlines of just this document?
Yeah.
Right. It's 32 pages. It's short. It's not very robust, but it's snippets of each section. They want you to have 3 liters of water a day. But I'm not seeing where it says for how long. But like their home preparedness is pretty standard boilerplate. Extra batteries, mobile phones and chargers, backup batteries, charging devices for heat, all-weather blankets, candles and tea lights for lights and fuel sources, matches for starting fires, and definitely having extinguishers. So they've got, it's a good list of things. They even include things like having a toilet and food backups, other solutions, tips for evacuation, things to bring. So they even have bug out bag, and they have a picture of the I just forgot what kind of pills they are. Nuclear pills.
Iodine
pills. Yeah.
But yeah, remember the warning to New York? Was it last year? Was it in 23? I forget where. They basically told everybody to, if there's a nuclear launch warning or whatever for threat for a nuclear missile, get inside, stay inside, and wait for further instructions. That was their warning.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like get water. It wasn't specific at all. Just go inside and then we'll tell you what to do after that. Like, okay, that is kind of the ultimate in, I wouldn't say propaganda, but just to keep the people completely unprepared. That's really just don't prepare. Just listen to us, and you'll be fine. Yeah, that's it. That was ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Well, it was kind of funny. I was having dinner with my brother-in-laws the other day, and I told him about it's been a while, several years since I seen one of my brother-in-laws, and he was like, I was telling him about the podcast. He's like, so you're a doomsday prepper? I'm like, yeah. He's like, that's so awesome. So I'll just follow you whenever it's time. I'll just follow you, whatever you're going to do. And I'm like,
As long as
well,
you do.
I appreciate that. You're going to give me that. You have enough faith that I'll know what I'm doing, but you should probably do a little bit of research yourself. You know what I mean? Like my sister, funny, she said the same thing. She's like, Paris, I don't want to know about all this stuff. Just tell me what to do when it's time to do it, and I'll do it. And I'm like,
Now.
well,
The time from yesterday. I think that's the biggest complaint I have with most people in our circles is they tell us they'll do whatever we tell them to do, but we've already told them stuff and they haven't done that.
yeah,
Right.
it's crazy. Well,
Yeah.
any last minute thoughts, guys, before we wrap up?
Well, no, I just got a long list here, but we talked about a lot of these things before. We see what's happening in the auto industry, the auto bubble, the real estate bubble. So many things that could come crashing down this year. Just warnings. Be careful. If you need to buy a house, buy a house. I mean, if you need it, you need it, right?
Do it.
You need a car. You got to have a car.
That's
Just be really careful. I don't know that it's smart to wait to say, hey, we're going to wait and see if the market goes down. We'll see if we can save some money. I don't know if that's going to be smart because I don't know if it will, right? So just big red light there on those two industries in particular. Just be really careful.
Yeah, it should have come down by now. If it was, so we don't know if they'll keep inflating it for how long.
Well, if we have an EMP event, the EMP study that the U.S. government paid for said that 90% of the United States will be gone in 9 months. Maybe wait till then to buy a car.
Yeah.
Until then, keep working on the one you have and keep it running because likelihood of any cars running after an EMP event is slim.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. There's some wisdom to bank on. Fix what you have.
Yeah. My warning would be don't buy any new vehicles. Find a good used vehicle. Don't buy anything new.
I think we need to go over like all the different things we've heard about the Great Depression, things we've learned from it. Like the chant, I repeat this oftentimes. You guys have heard me say it so many times. My grandma said this all the time to us as kids. Use it up, wear it out, make it do, or do without.
That's awesome.
Shane said it earlier, Paris? One of you guys, Shane said it earlier in the show, or maybe it was the last episode we just did. He's like, there's this good book on Amazon. You can buy it. If you don't have money, should I still buy something? No.
Don't buy it.
If I have the money and I want to buy something, can I buy it? Sure. Right. Don't waste money on things you don't need.
Yes.
Steve Martin.
I love the idea of making America great again. I don't, regardless of the political movement behind it, I just like that idea. However, I believe to make America great again, we need to make Americans great again. And there's some foundational principles of freedom, of liberty, and you can't be free if you're beholden to debt. You can't be free if you're beholden to medical issues. You can't be free. Like, let's get healthy. Let's get financially healthy, physically healthy, mentally and emotionally healthy. And then we can become a greater nation because we're healthy. I'm not taking pills or not. Anyways, well, you've been listening to Prepper Talk Radio for the ready-minded. We appreciate you being on the live with us. And those of you who are listening later, thank you so much for listening and downloading as well. Please spread the word. Also, we'd love to find out. We'll be planning for this year's agenda of different topics and items we want to go through. We'd love to hear from you guys if you're interested in our Facebook group at Emergency Prep and Self-Reliance. Any things that you'd like to hear from us, any topics that you'd like to have us discuss and go over and do some research on. You can also email us at preppertalkradio@gmail.com with any ideas that you might have for anything that we'd love to do. If you have, we also had, at one point, we had an interview if you wanted to be on a guest form to do that. I'll see if that's available somewhere. And anyways, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you on the next one. Have a great day.
See you next week. Happy New Year, everybody.